Welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. This is episode 98, otherwise known as season 5, episode 20. I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Doing great. I've been on vacation for the holidays, visiting family in Connecticut.
They're going well. Is it cold out there?
Uh, Actually, it's been kind of warm, like it's been in the 50s. But yeah, no, it's been fun. I just saw the Indigo Girls last night, and I did my annual visit to the Vinegar Syndrome Archive in Bridgeport and got some new stuff, so that was pretty cool.
Also with us, as always, is your other host, John Correa. How you doing, Correa?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm wearing my poncho and everything is fantastic. As everyone knows, it's impossible to be unhappy in a poncho.
We're going to, this is top 10 list episode. But before we get into that, there's a couple things that we did see recently we don't want to spend too much time on, but we are kind of excited about them. So, Korea, what'd you see?
So this weekend, it's the weekend of Midsummer Screams, Season Screamings. Season Screamings. There we go. I always screw it up. And so we were able to sneak in some time yesterday. First of all, they had an amazing Nightmare Before Dragmas performance, which included one of my favorites, Disasterina, and also a Dragpool performed. And yes, Dragpool is a drag queen who dresses up like Dragpool, and she was amazing. Great performance. Or Deadpool. What did I say?
Dragpool.
Yeah, Dragpool dresses up as Dragpool. That makes so much sense. I'm sorry, folks. It's early. Anyways, that was incredible. But yeah, they had a secret screening hosted by Dead Meat at Midsummer's Season Screamings, and we had no idea what it was until the moment before they showed it, and it turns out it was for the new movie, The Mean One. Which, if you haven't heard about it, The Mean One is a horror movie spoof of Ron Howard's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
How the Finch.
Well, it's full unauthorized parody, and I say specifically that it's the Jim Carrey one because, as my fiance, who's a mega fan of that movie, pointed out, it's like direct references to that movie all throughout it. They set it in like an actual. They make it like it was a real thing, and that the mean one, because they can't call it the Grinch because they don't have any of the rights. There's a few funny moments with that. Is a real monster that just hates Christmas and keeps murdering people. Overall, it was pretty fun. I'll admit, like, I don't know if I would have watched it if it wasn't for that screening. It's definitely limited by its budget. I wish it had a few more weeks in post for sound mixing and a lot of the effects, and some of the kills left me lacking. But you know what? It was a lot of fun. Watching it with a crowd was really great.
Is this the actual release version you saw, or are they still going to go back and cats away the wedding rings and stuff?
It comes out in 4 days. So
then this is what they're getting.
This is it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Lindsay says it's going to be a part of her Christmas tradition, which is cool. I'll go play Spider-Man during that. But no, I did have a lot of fun with it. It was really funny. They had some really weird jokes that kept repeating themselves throughout it. So yeah, at the end of the day, it felt like a 2006 Funny or Die skit stretched out into a feature length. If that sounds awesome to you, dude, you're going to have so much fun.
Okay. Also, the thing that interested me about it is that the Mean One is played by David Howard Thornton, the guy that plays Art the Clown in the Terrifier movies.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that.
And he was great. Like he did a very menacing Jim Carrey Grinch. Like he got the hand movements, he got the sassiness with it. One of the things that like I really enjoyed is he doesn't the Mean One doesn't talk. It's all just like animalistic grunts and stuff. And so there was like the body movements and language in the movie were so good. I was like, man, I bet he could do a mean. I want to hear that Jim Carrey voice, but I'm glad they didn't do that because then it would have been like too much, you know? But yeah, that it got a little slow in some parts, but anytime the Mean One showed up, that movie found its footing real fast.
One thing that I saw that since we are doing new stuff, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's not technically horror, but it's Darren Aronofsky, who's always a little horror. I saw The Whale, which is that new big festival darling movie, and it's probably my favorite quote non-horror movie of the year so far. This is the movie that you've been seeing all over the internet with Brendan Fraser in this massive fat suit. And he gives the performance of a lifetime, mainly because he does so much acting with just his eyes, because he's in all this makeup and prosthetics, the whole thing. And the entire cast, it's not just him that's amazing. It's the entire cast is great. And it's adapted from a play. So it mostly takes place in just his apartment, which is partially because the guy's so fat he can't leave his apartment. But it's also partially just for economy's sake. But there's other characters. He has a nurse, he has a daughter, there's a Jehovah's Witness, for lack of a better thing. They're actually from I think they call it First Life Church. But anyway, it's incredible. And Aronofsky's harder than any Aronofsky movie has ever Aronofsky in place. So if you like, movies like Mother and The Wrestler and, Requiem for a Dream, The Whale is awesome.
Right. And if I may make another recent release or mention another recent release that I want to bring up quickly, that's not exactly horror but has kind of some of those elements. I managed to see Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel, in theaters while I was visiting family. It was a great movie to see with my dad, and it was a lot of fun. It's basically a Agatha Christie-like mystery movie with a bunch of rich characters on an island, and Benoit Blanc is there. And I was like, I got to give props to Edward Norton, who plays probably one of the most funny kind of asshole tech bro type characters I've seen in film in a while. and I did feel like Rian Johnson had a bit of a Giallo influence, because there's even a point where a character wears black gloves, and it did feel like something kind of out of early Argento or Bava or something like that. And which is why also I really want a Knives Out movie where they just put Benoit Blanc in a Scream movie.
That'd be pretty fun. Yeah.
Knives Out versus Scream. I'd watch that.
All right, let's move on, because we're already running behind and we have a lot to talk about.
We're having too much fun.
We're going to our top 10 lists, and let's go alphabetically by first name this year. So let's go Jacob, James, John.
Well, I just want to, before we get into our top 10s, remind everybody that this is not our full-time job. We don't get to watch every release. We are going to be missing titles, and this is just our ones that we really loved. This, where all art is subjective.
All top 10s. I mean, even if something we've seen that's not on our lists, there's 11s and 12s too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm editing my list as we speak. At 11.
All right, let's go. Jacob, what's your number 10?
All right, coming in at number 10 would be Ty West's Pearl.
Pearl. Okay. Cool. I have a feeling that's not the first time, or that's not the last time we're going to hear about Pearl today.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was a pretty big one this year. I thought it was just such an interesting horror movie, especially after seeing X. And I was lucky enough because, it's just funny that it came out the same year as X. And usually prequels don't have this close of a time together to the original.
But usually we don't have a quarantine too.
That too. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to see X in theaters, earlier this year, and then it played again at the New Beverly back to back with X. So I was able to see them sequentially, and I mean, I really liked X, but Pearl really stood out to me, both as kind of like a very untraditional slasher and more kind of a throwback to a combination of the golden age of Hollywood and more psychological or kind of old school horror like Psycho or Straitjacket, but just kind of in the 1910s. Also just the biggest draw, of course, being Mia Goth's performance as Pearl, because that shit blew me away, especially that monologue. You guys remember the monologue?
That's going to win her awards.
Oh, I hope it does, because it started and it kept going, and I was thinking, like, how long is this going to go on? And not in a bad way, just that it was very enthralling. Just, she draws you in with her psychosis, but she, is able to give such a delivery. And also, just there is such great moments of tension, like when she's taking care of her dad after, dealing with her mom, and her invalid father is just knows that his daughter is like completely lost. But he can't do anything. Yeah. So, there was a lot I really liked in that.
My number 10 is Crimes of the Future, the new Cronenberg movie. Cronenberg is probably my favorite director. If someone held a gun to my head and said, "Well, who's your favorite director?" I would have to say Cronenberg. This is kind of a throwback to his, quote, cool Cronenberg. This isn't Eastern Promises, History of Violence Cronenberg. This is Existenz, The Brood Cronenberg. And it's just a lot of fun. Just a splattery, gory, just, sci-fi dystopia. It's not the same as his old student film of the same name. It looks like it's in the same universe, though. But Crimes of the Future is my number 10. Korea, your number 10?
My number 10, I actually just watched last night for the first time. And it quickly became one of my most anticipated movies of the year, even though I only found out about it a couple weeks ago. And it is Troll. Troll was directed by I'm so bad with Norwegian names.
But his name is Roar. You can't mess this up.
I know. Roar Utag. I'm so sorry, guys. But anyways, Troll is from the producers of my favorite disaster series, The Wave, The Quake, and The Burning Sea. And it's a Norwegian troll kaiju film from those guys. And I can tell you right now, it delivers on all those fronts. It handles the kaiju moments epically. There's some beautiful landscape shots. There's a lot of heart to it. And just like what they did with The Wave and all those movies, it hits every single note of plot and characters when it comes to disaster movies and kaiju movies, but they actually make the characters three-dimensional. There's the paleontologist who gets pulled in, but she's not. Then she's like, why am I getting pulled into a military thing? And then they reconnect with her father, who is an expert on trolls, but everyone calls him crazy because he thinks trolls is real. But they handle it really well in the mythology of trolls and tying it into the Christianization of Norway. Is really good. And the character of the troll is a very tragic monster. It's a hell of a good time, and it's on Netflix. If none of that sounds appealing to you, then you can stop listening to me talk forever. Troll is just a hell of a fun time.
I'm buried in awards screeners, and I'm kind of behind on a lot of this stuff, but I think I'm going to watch Troll tonight.
Do it. I swear you will not be disappointed.
You sold me on it.
It's so much fun. It's not a masterpiece, but it is so much fun.
All right, let's roll to number 9. Jacob, what's your number 9?
Okay, coming in at number 9 for me would be Chloe Okuno's Watcher.
Okay. This is the movie, not the Netflix series.
Yeah, no. This is the movie by Chloe Okuno, not the Netflix series, which is a totally different thing. Watcher, again, something I was fortunate enough to see in theaters. And it was just such an intense thriller horror movie. And we were talking about Perfect Blue before we started the show, and I remember Chloe Okuno talking about how that was an influence, and it really showed, but in a very effective way that she makes it her own. Because it's like this woman thinks she's being followed, and it's very strict POV. It's just, and I felt like it was such a masterclass in tension building and a combination of kind of societal comfort, stuff with manners. Cause it's like, do you think you're being followed, or are you going to be rude by, dissing this random stranger? Micah Monroe gave a phenomenal performance. Bern Gorman, he, real creepy performance. So, it was a real great cat and mouse horror type of film.
Cool. My number 9 is Pearl, which Jacob pretty much already said everything there's to say about Pearl. What struck me most about Pearl is how different it is from X. Basically, I mean, for a companion piece, that's obviously a companion piece. It is so different visually and story-wise. And it's just amazing how much of a tribute to like the Wizard of Oz it is, I mean, from like the bicycle riding to the scarecrow to, just the technicolor dream of it all. But anyway, Pearl is my number 9. Korea, number 9.
My number 9 is Studio 666.
Yes.
Which was very surprising for me. I like the Foo Fighters, but I'm not a fan, if that makes sense. Like I feel like I haven't hit that level of like dad mindset yet to be that into Foo Fighters, but I respect the shit out of them.
I think I'm a fan of the guys more than the music. I mean, I like the music, but they seem like dudes that I just want to hang out with.
Yeah. And you know what? I respect the shit out of them even more after this movie, just because it came out of nowhere. It didn't seem like a thing that they would do. And they're not actors and they lean into it. And, I know with a lot of like top 10s, it's always like best made, this again, I wanted to include at least 2 movies that were just fun as hell. And Studio 666 is just that. It's so much fun. That's going to be a yearly watch, I think, for me.
Cool. Number 8, Jacob.
Okay. Coming in at number 8 would be Joseph and Vanessa Winter's Deadstream, which did you guys see that?
No,
I haven't gotten to it yet. Yeah. It sounds like it's right up my alley, though.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. And I thought it was just a very clever reinvention of a found footage movie for modern times, while also kind of keeping the DNA of a lot of great horror comedies like Evil Dead and all that. So it's basically about this like YouTube live streamer guy who did something really bad. So he's in a lot of controversy. So he decides for like a stunt to get his audience back, he's going to spend a night in a haunted house, but he's equipped with all these cameras and he's got this rig on himself, and shit goes bananas. And it's just really entertaining. And it's funny too, because like Joseph Winter, one of the directors, actually is the star of it. And he puts himself for a lot of Bruce Campbell type splat stick and stuff. Like he gets a dead finger up his nose and he gets smacked around, he falls downstairs, like all that type of stuff. And it just kind of it almost feels like a found footage side story Evil Dead movie. I had a lot of fun with it. And it's one of those things with like people say found footage is dead and then somebody comes along to give it a real kick in the ass, and I feel like Deadstream was that.
Cool. My number 8, speaking of having a lot of fun with a movie, Barbarian.
Oh yes,
Barbarian is one of we were talking before we hit record that our lists, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like should be higher on my list, but I don't know what would go lower to replace it. Barbarian is one of those because I loved it so much, and it's the kind of theatrical experience where I wish that I had him more, because I went into it not knowing anything about the movie on the recommendation of people I'd known who had seen it, including Jacob. And it is just so much fun because it is whatever movie you think it is not. And I don't even want to talk about it too much right here, because anybody who hasn't seen it, I mean, it's just one of those, just go into it completely blind, and it is so much fun. And it goes places. Anyway, Barbarian is my number 8. What's your 8, Korea?
Yeah, avoid all the trailers for Barbarian and then watch the 2 that they released afterwards just to see how much fun they must have had with the marketing of that.
I accidentally saw a trailer before it happened, but the trailer, the one that I saw at least, it didn't give anything away. It was just the Airbnb one.
Oh, okay, because there's another one where it's called Justin Long's new movie. Which is really good.
Gosh.
That's what it's called. It's so good. My number 8 was Prey. And yes, I'm a huge Predator fan. Huge. And Prey was just everything I wanted from a Predator movie and more. It was back to basics while doing a new spin on it, and seeing it at Beyond Fest with a crowd in Comanche was just an awesome experience. And it's just for that moment where they said, if it bleeds, we can kill it. In Comanche with a crowd, it was one of my top theater moments of 2022. So.
I love that they did a Comanche dub of that too, because when I first saw it, it was in English, and I'm like, this is gonna get some hate, the fact that they're speaking English, but then it comes out that they did the Comanche dub, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Because the screeners they sent out were in English, at least the one I got.
Yeah, and I understand why they would film it in English just to like have it be, for distribution purposes,
Accessibility, yeah.
But I'm really glad that they went back and dubbed it.
Yeah, especially because they used indigenous actors.
Yeah.
So and that's what confused me about it. I'm like, oh, there's no way these people don't know this language. So yeah, it's a
hell of a good time.
And culturally, it was important that they dubbed it in Comanche because it's like one of the only movies to ever feature like a full Comanche dub like that.
And to have like so many of those folks just in front and behind this screen. Yeah. And it's a goddamn Predator movie. It's so much fun. Anyways.
Well, that's my new thing. I want the next big cinematic trend to be stealth Predator movies. Like you have a movie you think is about the Civil War, and then they drop a Predator in there, or a movie that you think is about like King Arthur's Knight. We were talking about what kind of Predator movies you want to see. You could drop a Predator into any situation, and it works.
I need Jacob's World War II trench Predator movie.
Oh,
World War
I.
Yeah.
A World War I Predator movie.
Yeah, no, I need it. Anyway,
number 7. What's your number 7, Jacob?
Okay, coming in at number 7, I went with Ali Abbasi's Holy Spider, which, if you didn't see it, it's basically a serial killer movie based off an actual serial killer that operated in Iran in the early 2000s, who was called the Spider Killer and targeted sex workers throughout the Iranian city of Mashhad. And yeah, no, just I saw it at Beyond Fest, and it was very intense. It definitely felt like seeing. It was how I felt when I saw Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and just how grounded and dark and just disturbing it was. And with the addition of kind of dealing with a lot of social and religious issues in Iran, that even though it was set in the early 2000s, keep in mind that this movie came out while the Iran protests were and still continue to happen. So it just felt particularly powerful because of that.
It's an Iranian movie then?
Yes. It is. Well, it was made by. Well, actually, I think it was made by Iranians, but I don't think it was actually made in Iran. Okay. No, it was made in Europe, but Ali Abbasi is Iranian. Like, I don't think they would allow a movie like this to be made in Iran.
That's what I was wondering. Well, that's not an easy feat if they made it in Iran. Yeah.
No, but yeah, no, it was very, very disturbing, very intense, but definitely very, very relevant, unfortunately.
Added that to my watch list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah.
My number 7 is Nope. I'm a huge Jordan Peele fan. This is the lowest that one of his movies has shown up on my list because Get Out was my number 1 of that year, and Us was, I think, my number 2 of that year. This one is, I don't think it's as good as those two, but it is still just, for lack of a better word, an alien invasion movie, although it's way more than that. And it's one of those movies, like all of Jordan Peele's movies, like the more you notice, the more that you think about it, the more you're like, this is good. This is a good fit. This is another one that I feel like it should be higher, but there's nothing I would put lower. So yeah, Nope. If you like those big grand, this is Jordan Peele branching out into like that big Roland Emmerich style disaster kind of movies. And he does it. He does it great.
Nope is fantastic. And if you haven't watched the writers roundtable that Variety did, he gets in a real good discussion with the writer of Till. And it just made me want to do a double feature of Nope and Till, since they both movies talk about the Black American experience with photography and photos. I was like, damn, that sounds like such a cool double feature. And they were bouncing off each other. So it's an hour long, but it's so good, that roundtable.
Wow. I didn't even get that correlation, but you're right. They both are.
Yeah.
What's your number 7, Korea?
My number 7 is Crimes of the Future, because Cronenberg, I don't view his action films as a slump, mostly just because I only recently watched Eastern Promises and that movie floored me.
Slump is not, I don't think I said slump, but I don't think it's a slump. It's
apologies if I put words in your mouth. Sorry.
There's a difference. There's a difference between early Cronenberg and late Cronenberg. And,
yes.
Like the Dangerous Method, Maps to the Stars, Cronenberg is like an Oscar chasing Cronenberg. That's maybe what it is. Maybe I'm thinking Oscar bait versus
Right.
buckets of gore. And Crimes of the Future is a return to the buckets of gore.
He just did a different kind of weird for a decade or two than his usual. And I feel like Crimes of the Future was that perfect combination of old school and newer Cronenberg. And it was just great to have the master back to making me feel very weird about anything that's sexual and just all around insane performances. The throat performances from Viggo Mortensen will forever haunt me. And Kristen Stewart is just everything in it. Just Crimes of the Future is just so great. I can't wait to revisit it when that 4K disc comes out, because it's going to be fucking gorgeous.
It's a movie that made everybody talk about how surgery is the new sex.
All right, number 6, Jacob.
Okay, for number 6, I went with Mark Mylod's The Menu.
I still need to see that.
Yeah, I need to see it as well. It has shown up on a lot of my critics groups think lists where people are like loving it. I really need to see it.
Yeah, no, it is definitely well worth seeing, and I'm very glad I got to see it in theaters while I did, because it's a classic setup. It's like all these rich people, like restaurateurs and critics, and dude bros go to this island where this lavish gourmet restaurant is, and don't want to spoil anything, so shit goes wild. Although I really enjoyed it because it did kind of feel like a feature-length Tales from the Crypt episode or something like EC Comics, because it deals a lot with comeuppance, or in this case, just desserts. And it is such an amazing cast because
is that a pun?
Yes,
just
it was
desserts?
A pun. I mean, I could not resist. But anyway, yeah, no, it's an amazing cast too, because you got Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy,
Nicholas Holt's in it, right?
Yeah, Nicholas Holt is in it. John Leguizamo particularly stood out for me. Also really like Hong Chow. She was great. Again, don't want to go into too many details, but they each got some very standout moments, and it just was a very fun kind of class satire, while also being its own thing. So. Yeah, if you get the chance, I would definitely recommend it.
My number 6 is We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is it's one of those like, I guess they call them screen horror movies, or like Host or Dash Cam kind of a thing. Yeah, and it's just the way that it portrays those viral like creepypasta challenge things, and the slow insanity of it. And then the reveal of what is actually happening, I just thought was brilliant. So yeah, We're All Going to the World's Fair. I was a little late to the party on that one, but I'm glad I finally showed up. Korea, what's your 6?
My 6 is Hatching, which is the Finnish horror movie about a young girl who finds an egg and raises it, and it kind of grows into this like bird doppelganger of herself. That one kind of came out of left field, and I'm so glad I got to see it theatrically, mostly because it was a pretty empty theater. So we pretty much had the whole screen to ourselves. But oh man, it's such a beautifully shot movie. One of the main storylines is like the mom is like a vlogger, and her vlog is like how perfect her family is. So it's trying to like fit that in. Meanwhile, her daughter's like upstairs, up chucking food into this weird human bird creature and stuff, and it's just a very unsettling movie, but so well done. It's currently streaming on Hulu, I believe, so if you haven't checked it out yet, Hatching is phenomenal.
We are at the halfway point, and so far I think I've only counted 2 repeats: Crimes of the Future and Pearl. Am I missing any?
Oh, there's going to be more the further we go in.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely.
I think there will be more coming up, but I was impressed with us that we've managed to only have 2 repeats. Number 5, what you got, Jacob?
Okay, well, great minds continue to think alike, because my number 5 was We're All Going to the World's Fair.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I just thought that it did such a phenomenal job of kind of capturing both kind of internet subculture today, and also just kind of isolation, especially for modern day kids. And yeah, also Michael Rogers' performance was really creepy at times, and like I really like him ever since I saw him in Beyond the Black Rainbow. Is very good just kind of being unsettling. So yeah, no, it's just such a fascinating movie and very much of the time.
And don't count out Anna Cobb either. The her performance was awesome.
Oh no,
too.
no, of course. Yeah, no, she was great.
My number 5 is Men. Speaking of great performances, Men is that new Alex Garland movie. In case you've forgotten, because it was a while ago. Jessie Buckley just steals this movie, but she steals it, but she steals it from Rory Kinnear, who plays men. He basically every other role in the movie is him, and it's weird because he's like at first you don't even realize that he's playing all these roles, and then at some point it hits you over the head, and you're like, it's just a fun surprise that there's only one man, and well, there's two because her ex-husband as well, but. Yeah, Men is it's typical. It goes typical Alex Garland at the end, and the ends I still kind of struggle with. Whether it's. I mean, speaking of early Cronenberg, the end I still kind of struggle with, but it's struggle in a good way. It's one of those. What the hell's happening? It's the kind of movie that makes you want to watch it a second time to see what's leading up to that moment. What's your 5, Korea?
My number 5 is Barbarian.
Yeah,
because again, my top 10s are ones that hit me in the face when I saw it. And Barbarian was just such a great one. The humor, the horror. I mean, I've already seen it. I think it's one of the only ones on my list that I've seen multiple times. Mostly because I keep showing people it. It's Barbarian. The less you know, the better.
It's weird because I keep hearing people talk about the humor in Barbarian, and I don't see a lot of humor in it. To me, it's just a terrifying movie. But
really
different
strokes.
I mean,
Justin Long's bits were hilarious.
Yeah, his bits were a little chuckly, but I mean, I don't know. It's not a horror comedy to me. Now, Studio 666 is hilarious, but anyway, let's move on to number 4. What's your 4, Jacob?
All right, my number 4. It's a little complicated, but basically saw it on the festival circuit. And it's kind of a 2-part thing. It's the Once and Future Smash / Endzone 2 by Sofia Coppola and Michael J. Epstein. So the Once and Future Smash is a mockumentary, a very Christopher Guest type of thing about these 2 actors that originally portrayed this killer named Smash Mouth in this football themed slasher movie called Endzone 2. And it's about them competing for the reboot or requel role in modern times. And it is just a really funny and kind of biting satire of the horror scene and conventions and fandom and just kind of the current trends in horror. But it also had a lot of heart. It definitely understood, the kind of stuff it was ribbing. And they actually did Endzone 2 as kind of a fake throwback movie to slashers, and and as a companion piece, played back to back. But so they play into each other, and Endzone 2 is actually a genuinely fun little kind of slasher throwback because it's just a bunch of women at a cabin when this football themed slasher with his jaw hanging open attack. So I just felt like it was really fascinating and an original piece that very self-examining in the genre. And I'm very excited when it eventually gets a mainstream release, hopefully soon.
My number 4 is Bones and All. The new Luca, I'm going to butcher his name, Guadagnino, something like that. Anyway, the guy who made the Suspiria remake and also Call Me By Your Name, which this movie is the perfect marriage of those two. I mean, it's at its heart, it's a love story, but it's also gory as hell. I don't want to say too much about it because this is another one where just go in blind. Don't even, God, I mean, I hate the fact that so many people are spoiling even the main premise, because it's such a shock to find out on your own. But yeah, Bones and All. Timothy Chalamet and Taylor Russell are the quote lovers, and they're both incredible.
That word makes me uncomfortable.
That word. Did you see the movie?
No, just the word lovers.
Oh, well.
To quote Liz Lemon, that word makes me uncomfortable unless it's between meat and pizza.
But there's also like speaking of Anna Cobb is in it. Mark Rylance has a role in it. There's some real surprise roles. Chloe Sevigny shows up. And Jessica Harper shows up.
What? My
oh,
girl.
Yeah. It's
my girl Jessica Harper shows up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in today.
Oh yeah, it's terrific. But anyway, yeah, bones and all. What's your 4, Korea?
Speaking of Anna Cobb, my number 4 is We're All Going to the World's Fair.
Nice. The first one that's been on all 3 of our lists.
Yeah. Especially with my like top 4. This is any one of these movies could be in any position, and We're All in the World's Fair was one that like was bouncing around quite a bit. It's the only film that come out this year that I own on Blu-ray, VHS, and have the record for. Just all around an incredible experience. The fact that that they were able to capture that feeling of 3 a.m. and you're on that weird part of YouTube and you can't get out of it because you freaked yourself out and you can't go back to sleep, and kept going. Anna Cobb is absolutely incredible performance, and yeah, it was just such an inspiring movie on what you can do with film. I all around loved it. Yeah,
it's good. Okay, the first iHorror approved title
full on
all three of our lists. We're All Going to the World's Fair. Let's go to our top 3. What's your 3, Jacob?
I am loving that we're not matching up like really at all. Like there's a few that are on everyone's list, but there's a lot where it's just like, wow, we may not have had a chance to see everything, but we're covering some really cool ones.
Oh yeah, no, it's been a good year.
Yeah.
And speaking of, my number 3 would be Jordan Peele's Nope.
Nice.
Yeah, no, just I saw it in IMAX and it blew me away. Like
it's the perfect IMAX movie.
It really is.
It's a huge screener.
Yeah, no, it keeps on talking about spectacle, but the movie itself was an amazing spectacle, especially in that format. Just hearing all the oohs, ahs, and ahs from the audience, and just like some of the reveals, just blew my mind, and it's just such a great misdirect because with all the trailers and everything, you think it's one thing, with the aliens and all that, but then you see it and it is not.
and the plays on the Spielberg shot.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
so good. There's so many like technical things about it, and I'm piping up now because I don't have it on my 10 list. It was hard to leave it off, but again, I'm gonna have that double feature soon. And once I have, I'll be like, fuck, I should have bumped it up more.
Have you seen Till? Not to get on a big
no, not yet.
Till's a tough watch. It's not horror at all, but it's a tough watch. It's an important watch, though.
As expected.
Yeah.
As expected.
It's an important one, though. It's a very important movie, I think. My number 3 is X, which is just, we've talked about Pearl. Now we're going to talk a little bit about X. X is just the perfect throwbacks to that 70s slasher, that Texas Chainsaw Massacre without a chainsaw. It's just dirty, it's grimy, and it's just perfectly made. I mean, it's even got an alligator, or is it a crocodile? What do they have in Texas? I don't know. But yeah, X, I think Mia Goth is better in Pearl, but that doesn't take anything away from her in X. And, and plus it's got the best adult filmmaker or adult actor name ever, Jackson Hole.
Yeah.
What's your 3, Korea?
I can feel a little cheated because I watched this one not last night, but the night prior. But it instantly blew me away. A Wounded Fawn.
On Shudder, right?
Yeah, it's on Shudder now. But it hit at all the right notes for me. It's a serial killer vibe. It deals with mythology. It's got some like folk horror-ish. There's entire scenes that feel straight out of Evil Dead 2. The score is just haunting. A Wounded Fawn. Josh Rubin plays this serial killer character who is also dealing with as an art dealer, and he steals this piece that kind of comes back to haunt him, and it just hit a lot of notes. It critiques, the bougie side of the art world, which is most of the side of the art world, let's be honest. it's not afraid to let its characters kind of make fool of themselves. It's not afraid to kind of have their characters be kind of annoying, to be honest. There's and again, Josh Ruben's just phenomenal in it. And yeah, that the entire third act is just it goes into different directions a lot. It for some reason really struck a lot of chords for me. So yeah, Wounded Fawn. I'm so sad I missed it at Beyond Fest. I would have loved to have seen that on the big screen.
Number 2, what you got, Jacob?
Well, it's funny you mention that because I put A Wounded Fawn as my number 2 because I saw it at Beyond Fest.
Hey, I was wondering if you were going to include it on your 10 because I know you saw it. I was, as soon as I finished, I was like, fuck, is Jacob, I can't be the only one to mention it in this one. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was an incredible screening. Travis Stevens really knocked it out of the park with this one, especially the fact that it was shot on 16 millimeter, which, you know, it really shows and it gives it a certain effect. And yeah, no, it really played well with the crowd. And, you know, just like structurally and visually, it's just so interesting because, yeah, it just feels like so many different things. Yeah, it does feel kind of like a folk horror thing. It feels like a 70s psychological horror thing, an 80s splatstick type of thing. And it deals a lot with like art and toxic masculinity and forgiveness. And yeah, no, it just covers so much ground in such a way. And, you know, and again, it's just something where I feel like seeing it with an audience had an effect on me because, you know, there's a particular bit at the end where that kind of starts and keeps going, and people completely lost it over how it went.
No spoilers, but that final shot.
Oh yes, no. It was like, oh man, the audience didn't know how to react by the end of it. It was insane. So it just really resonated, and I think it's one of my favorites this year.
Well, I hope so. If it's your number 2, my number 2 is The Northman.
Oh,
this is about as fringy as we're getting on this one. It's not technically horror, but it's pretty horrific.
I got fringe with Troll, so it's allowed.
I mean, it's The Northman to me. I mean, I'm not a big fan of period pieces, but also The Green Knight was on my list last year, so I'm allowed The Northman this year. The Northman, early in the movie, and I've talked about this before, there's a scene where they're storming a castle and one of the guards throws a spear and the guy catches it, spins around, throws it back, and nails the guy who threw it. As soon as that happened, I'm like, oh, you know what? This movie could roll closing credits right now and it'd be in my top 10.
It does have a lot of horror scenes, you know, like that bit where he fights the undead Viking knight, and there's just such brutality, like when they burn down like a whole cabin full of women and children.
Or just Bjork, you know, just I still think she showed up as is, and they were just like, oh shit, we got her here. Let's put her in the movie.
Yeah, these Vikings are, they were definitely not they were not a peaceful. I guess if you left them alone, maybe. But anyway, yeah, they were not averse to spilling blood. So yeah, it's a pretty gory one. But The Northman, I loved it. I think it's just, it's Robert Eggers. No one does period pieces like Robert Eggers, and The Northman's just another feather in his cap.
And let's not forget the amazing performance by Nicole Kidman. I feel like that doesn't get discussed enough with The Northman, how fucking great she is in that.
And Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke was really good too. Yeah. Fun mode to watch The Northman. Just sit there and go, they ripped off The Lion King.
Yeah.
Well, now, The Northman, it's actually Hamlet.
Yeah.
So
they both are.
Yeah.
It's just funny to sit there and go,
but Hamlet was based on a Norse legend anyway. Yeah. So who's ripping off who?
No. It was just a fun mode, just sitting there and like having a moment of forgetting that they're all based off of this one thing, and then just being like, Lion King. Okay. Yeah. Wait. No. Back into it. Hamlet. Yeah.
It's funny that you go to Lion King and I go to Hamlet.
I mean, a child of the 90s, man. That VHS tape is worn the fuck
English
out.
minor.
Yeah. Anyways, my number 2 is Pearl. I think that's the other one that we've all had on our list, right?
That's the second Ion Horror approved.
So, Korea, why is Pearl so high up on your list? Easy. Hagsploitation. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is the closest thing that I've seen with a decent budget in recent times to hit those notes of whatever happened to Baby Jane, which is one of my all times. Mia Goth's performance was transformative. It was amazing. it hit all the notes of great acting, and she still went into the cheese. I loved it. The kills were great, and the story, the throwbacks. I love when there's characters like the projectionist where it's like, were they really there, or was that a figment, without it being like annoyingly overt or annoyingly there, and it was just so beautifully shot. How they were able to capture Technicolor vibes and looks without actually doing Technicolor is insane. But yeah, I can't wait to see all the drag performances that are going to be inspired by this movie. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, that's coming. That's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably already happened at least a few times at WeHo. Let's be honest.
Yeah. It's happening somewhere. Mia Goth, like you said, her performance, what I think makes it awards worthy is like what you said. It walks the line between serious thespian and total cheese, and it walks it perfectly. She strikes the perfect balance. So God, I hope she gets some. I'm pulling for her in my groups. I hope she gets some recognition. I don't think an Oscar is going to be in it for her, but it would be awesome if she could get something.
It's earned, man. But as we all know from our very first episode, the Academy does not like horror.
It's not the kind of movie that's going to get Oscar noms, but it could get some critics groups.
Although, funny enough, they did do a shout out post to Mia Goth on the Academy Twitter account. Everybody's like, give her the nomination.
Yeah.
Give her the nomination.
Maybe they know something we don't. That would be awesome.
You want people to tune into this year's Oscars? Have Mia Goth win Best Actress.
That would be great.
Have her do the dance number live on stage.
That would be even better. Have her do the dance.
I would love for her to be nominated and then go for her performances in X and Pearl.
She's double up against herself.
Well, no, count it as like one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little cheating, but I mean, they did come. She did play the same character in two movies that came out the same year. So, I mean, that would be a fun thing.
Let's move on to number one. Drum rolls.
All right. Well, before I get to number one, just want to do a quick shout out to a few movies that didn't make the list or runner-ups. Black Phone, really love that. I had that on my list last year because I saw it at Beyond Fest, and let's see, Kids versus Aliens, saw that this year. It's on the festival circuit, coming out next year, so I'll be talking about it more then. Also big fan of Out There Halloween Mega Tape and Prey and VHS 99, all great, really fun movies. But my number one this year was Zach Cregger's Barbarian.
Nice.
Which I had to do it because, I'm going a lot off of theatrical experiences because, the experience really makes the movie, and Barbarian theatrically was something else. I saw it at a Beyond Fest pre-screening last August, and I swear to God, like seeing it there, I jumped in my seat, literally jumped in my seat during, the basement scene when that stuff happens. And it's like a truly good horror movie is one that gets such a visceral reaction out of you, and just something that I could not tell where it was going. I did not know what it was building up to. It hit me on so many levels, and it just had such a profound effect on me. I felt like I had to give it the number one spot.
Cool. My number one, you already kind of teased it, is The Black Phone. I did not see it on the festival circuit last year, so it's my number one this year. It's an incredible, it's the perfect marriage between Scott Derrickson and Joe Hill. I feel, it's Sinister meets It, which I guess is, son of Stephen King. But yeah, I just loved everything about The Black Phone. Speaking of Ethan Hawke, he's in my number one and my number two this year. So yeah, he's knocking it out of the park. Yeah, just the Black Phone, just everything about it. I just loved. It's my number one. It's my number one, horror or not. And Korea, the final number one.
Well, I want to give special shout outs to ones that didn't make my top 10. Just barely. Hellbender. That was another one I watched in the last week or so preparing for this, and that was a ride. I loved Hellbender. It's metal as fuck. You can tell it was made with a lot of love. Hellbender on Shudder. Please check it out. I love My Dad. was not horror, was one of the most uncomfortable movies I saw this year. Can't recommend I Love You Dad enough. Is probably Patton Oswalt's best performance since The Fan. I think it was Big Fan.
Big Fan.
Yeah, Big Fan, which amazing, his best performance. And then of course Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's probably just my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that didn't end up on either of your lists, but I guess it's not really horror.
Well, you're the fringe guy. We're not. For me, it wasn't horror, so that's why I got a shout out. Also, Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo. Fuck the haters.
Yeah. And also shout out to One Piece Film Red, which again, not really horror, but had a lot of nightmarish animation. So still a pretty big fan of that. Saw it 3 times in theaters.
Okay, then I'm going to shout out DC League of Super Pets if we're going non-horror.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay, come on, Korea. What's your number one?
My number one is Moonfall. No.
I almost made that joke with Morbius, but I decided not to.
I had to get one more dig in. My number one is You Won't Be Alone. You Will Not Be Alone was the folk horror witch movie starring Noomi Rapace. And since the moment I saw it, or the end credits rolled on that movie, I've been championing it. It's one of the most solid recent folk horror movies, which is one of my favorite subgenres. Honestly, going in as blind as possible. Again, there's no like big twist. There's no like crazy things like that, but just kind of allowing yourself to just kind of be sucked into the ethereal storytelling and the performances. Noomi Rapace, of course, is queen. Just I'll watch just about anything that she's in. And yeah, it's haunting. The imagery is there, but it's got this human element at its heart with like a lot of heart. I can't recommend that one enough. I think it's still streaming on Peacock right now, but I'm waiting for that home release to come out so I can watch it again. You know what's funny? Scream and Halloween Kills didn't make any of our lists. That was going to be my other ones to shout out for this year. Yeah, Scream was
and I enjoyed them, but yeah, there's just other things I enjoyed more. It's just interesting that like basically the 2 biggies of the year that everybody, basically the ones that the box office went crazy for. I mean, don't get us wrong; those were fantastic movies. Same with the new Hellraiser. New Hellraiser was
that
awesome.
Was good
too. But there could only be 10 in a 10 spot. What a great year for a lot of horror films.
It's been an amazing year. Where is Terrifier 2 in our lists?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't either.
It's just, there's so many horror movies, but so little room,
We did get Art the Clown in there, though.
Oh, yes, the mean one. The Finch.
Well, that wasn't top 10.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't...
We discussed it, but...
we talked about it. All right, cool. Well, these are our top 10s. I know we missed a lot of stuff because, like Chris said, it's been a great year. So, yeah, what did we miss? Did we miss your favorite? Are we crazy for not putting Scream and Halloween Kills on our lists? Or do they not belong there?
I mean, if it wasn't for Troll, I think, because Hellbender was my 11.
All right. Well, these are ours. What are yours? Let us know. And and we can duke it out. Our music is by Restless Spirit, so go give them a listen. And our artwork is by Chris Fisher, so go give him a like. You can find us on any of the socials under Ion Horror or at iHorror.com. So, let us have it about our lists. Is The Northman not horror enough? Should I have thrown it off? Yeah, I'm the fringe guy. You're lucky I didn't put The Whale on there.
I did a kaiju troll movie in my top 10, so I think you're forgiven.
But it's called Troll. I think it's automatically horror. It's called Troll.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I'm telling you, go watch it tonight.
Oh yeah, no, you've sold me on it. You've sold me on it. I'm gonna blow off some of these Oscar baits.
It was either that or Burning Sea. Just because I just love. I need more Norwegian disaster movies, please.
You need more roar in your life.
Yeah.
We say roar. It's probably pronounced like roar or something like that.
I didn't even tell you guys. There's a moment where they're in the briefing room in Troll and they're all together talking about like what it could be. And they're like, oh, it could be climate change. And they're like, oh, it could be these gaseous things. And they're like, what? And this one guy just goes, sink a hole And I had to rewind it like 8 times because Lindsay and I kept missing what was going on and like kept just hearing like sink a hole. And it was, I was just like, you cannot say that word like that with that dead of a face. It was beautiful.
All right, let's get out of here. So yeah, let us know what your top 10s are. And yeah, we'll duke it out over whether or not The Northman belongs on any top 10 lists. So for me, James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
And I'm Jonathan Correa.
Keep your eye on horror.